Welcome to Cycles TV. This session of the Market Cycles Report is intended exclusively to provide information and education to help individuals better understand cycles and the markets. However, this information is not to be construed as professional advice as to the buying and selling of securities. In no event does the host express any opinion with respect to, or make recommendations regarding, the purchase or sale of any particular investment instrument. There is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. Buying or selling decisions are solely within the personal discretion of each individual. And now, enjoy the show. Here is your host.
Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. My name is Lars Fontin, and once a week I'm happy to meet you here in Cycles TV. What we're doing here is using digital signal processing to analyze cycles in different data sets and mainly the financial area. Today is a special episode, as you can see from the title. Today we will not analyze cycles in global markets. I think the stock market is quite boring these times. No update in cycles. I refer to my previous videos. So in these boring times in regards to price action, what could be a special subject? If you have followed the news by the Foundation, you maybe have seen the announcement that we will merge the cycles detection technology, which is coming from various projects which I'm supporting, and now bringing in this technology as the core of the Foundation, which means that you as a member of the Foundation can receive more and more features, and which makes the development of the underlying technology even more simpler for the team which is supporting this technology. So we will merge the knowledge and the background into one source, which will give you the full benefit of features and usability. And today I want to give you a preview, a sneak preview on what to expect. So please follow the announcement here on the webpage. Go to cycles.org. You will find this announcement on the main webpage. And I would recommend, if you have then read the announcement, please register for the launch event and the wait list for this technology, which will show up in May. So we are very, very close to launching these new features. It's no more than 3 weeks from now. Register there to be part of the earliest live event. And today you will get a sneak preview. So what are we talking about? 6 features I want to showcase in a sneak preview already today, so that you are aware of what you can expect. Topic number 1, and maybe some of you are already using this feature. We will have more capabilities using intraday cycles. And not only intraday, there's a special features, I would call it bring your own data set. Bring your own intraday data you have in whatever charting application. But that's the first topic I want to introduce in the first section. Second, as I always refer, once you know the dominant cycle length, you should switch to technical charting and review the data set ortho from a technical analysis perspective, which requires some technical features. This will come as a second feature. Yes, we have it. Third, and I think that's most prominent here, we have included artificial intelligence to identify the most dominant peaks in a spectrum, to make it more easy for you to rely on computer-powered knowledge, with deep learning, to select the right peaks from the spectrum, because there's a lot of reasoning behind what to pick and not to pick. So you get this ranking algorithm to pick the right cycles to do your forecasting. Fourth, sounds simple, more storage. So you can attach more and more data sets to your own configuration, more and more individual reports. Fifth topics, yes, you can plot FLDs if you are aware of the Hurst body of knowledge, the future line of demarcation, what you can do with this. So yes, you can plot FLDs in the platform. And last but not least, it can be downloaded as a standalone application. You know, it's a browser-based version, but you can then fire it up also as a standalone version. It's not completely independent from the cloud, but for example, some cycle detection routines will run inside the local application. So if you have a high-powered CPU and computer anyhow, you can benefit from even more faster cycle analysis directly run within your CPU, which makes some turns into the cloud more comfortable for you. So lots of topics to come. And all these features, this is not a roadmap. These features are there already. Yeah, it's there, and I will showcase them to you. And you will be able to get them within the next 3 weeks. Join the launch event if you're interested in the Pro version, for sure. But that's the starting point in 3 weeks. That's not the roadmap. If I show you the roadmap, it gets even more exciting. But let's stick to the basics. What's there? What's in it for you already today? Okay, point number 1. Intraday cycles. What's intraday cycles about? I mean, before you switch to intraday cycle analysis, you should have and you need the basic understanding about how cycle analysis works. And that's why please use the Cycles TV episode every week I'm running here, because I'm using daily cycle analysis in this weekly series, which give you the fundamental knowledge on how to apply digital signal processing, detect dynamic cycles. The same principles apply to intraday cycles, but for sure in the intraday world, it gets more and more dynamic. It's faster moving data sets. So you need to have really a deep understanding of what to do with this data set. So once you're comfortable with using daily data sets, switch to intraday, and we give you the features to do so. So what do I mean by talking about intraday data sets? And it's even better than you think. So it's not about uploading your own intraday data sets. So first, and to be clear, we don't provide intraday raw data. Yeah. So to be clear right from the beginning, we are not a provider of intraday data sets. But what we offer with the Pro version, which is what we call streams, and streams allow you to connect to your individual charting application. I would assume that you have anyhow up and running data feeds for your intraday analysis on the data sets you are interested in. So why the hell invest in additional memberships and data feeds? What we provide to you is a technology and interface which makes it possible to use your personal data you're using anyhow in your charting application, being it TradeStation, MotiveWave, or even other applications, which you can connect to our cycle analyzer. I will introduce the specifics once you can use the features, but that is then in the end, it's similar to connecting a stream to the cycle analyzer. So this data can only be analyzed by you, yeah, because it's your data, it's your data feed provider, but you can connect it here, sync it with your cycle analyzer version, so you can, without a hassle, use your intraday data feeds, which are then called streams in the cycle analyzer. But the streams are your personal streams from your data provider you have anyhow. So for example, here, and I'm streaming a 1 minute Ethereum data set here. You see it's updated. The latest one was, I think I need to refresh it here, but this is currently updating as a live data stream. You see it here, 26 seconds ago. So it's quite up to date to the latest minutes. But I mean, and this now, I mean, it's the basic cycle analyzer here, but now you have 1 minute data and you have 1 minute cycles in the analyzer here. That's, I mean, quite obvious. But you see here the live button, which means that we have now live stream and activated, which means that the cycle analysis is automatically updating each minute once new data comes in. So you don't need to resync now the data set. You can, for example, on one monitor, if you have a multi-monitor setup, on one monitor you have your charting application with all your technical analysis on the chart. You have a monitor on that. You have connected it via our streaming interface. On the other monitor, you can launch the cycle analyzer, like this screen here. And with the live connection, the data is connected. So once new data arrives in your technical charting application, it's automatically pushed and updated in the cycle analyzer. And with a blink of an eye, it's automatically updated with the cycle analysis. So in parallel, you can watch intraday data moving on your technical analysis screen, your whatever Bloomberg interface or whatever you use. And on the second screen, you use the cycle analyzer. So you have both in parallel, linked via our streaming interface, connected via the live button. You see here the data is already updating. Once a minute I get new data here. And now you can, that's the cycle analysis. You can bring in your projection here. And there are additional features here. Now you can, for example, you see it. Well, let me make it even larger here. But that's the pin. You can pin now this composite. So because you want to track the performance of this projection here without changing your composite projection. So now new data comes in, but it will not change the visual configuration of your composite here. But I'm now going into the specifics. This is just a quick preview. So it makes it really simple. Generate an intraday projection, pin it to your chart, so this is fixed, and let the data update just automatically with our streaming interface, which allows you to connect live data. It's really, I'm sure you will like it. If you are in intraday analysis, that's why we differentiate between basic and pro. Maybe you don't need intraday data analysis, but then I think that's really the way to go. Second, also often required, once you have your cycle, composite cycle, dominant cycle, however you call it, on your screen, you want to overlay it, for example, with other composite projections. You want to bring the inverse dominant cycle on top of your chart, and maybe your favorite indicators on top of that. Wouldn't it be cool if you can do this right from the charting application to do some quick technical analysis test? Now you are able to do this. So, and let's therefore switch to this example here. So we can directly open an interactive technical chart. Yeah. So let's assume we have made our cycle analysis, then we don't need the spectrum and the table anymore. Let's just add some more specifics to this technical chart here. We will open the charting interface. So now this includes the charting view, which has an embedded charting application. And if you're familiar with a trading view, it's the same user interface, which is provided by TradingView, but it is pre-configured for our cycle analysis. So, you can now apply the basic technical analysis to this data set. You can attach whatever technical indicator. But that's the basic technical analysis. You can have drawings and whatever. I don't need to explain that. But more interesting now, you can overlay a composite model. So if you have saved a composite model, so maybe I've not explained that, you have now, once you have done and prepared your composite, there is a new feature which allows you to save this composite. So you can save the generated composite model here, so the purple line in that case, and save it into the cloud model. And this allows you then afterwards to load this saved composite model as an indicator here on that chart. So I've pre-configured a chart layout here. So as just a quick preview, what you see here at the bottom is a composite model based on 2 cycles I built for one of my projections here. So this composite model has been built with the cycle analyzer and saved. And I've just loaded here this as an indicator on my chart. So we can now do standard things with the technical charting. So if we are more interested in the inverted version of this cycle, you can just flip it around. So for example, you analyze volatility index cycles, so VIX cycles, which are the opposite as the price. So you can just invert the scale, and just the cycle or the composite model flips around. You can apply indicator to cycle models, but you can load another composite cycle. So you have analyzed the cycle on the financial stress cycle and overlay it to the S&P weekly. You can do this with this charting interface. You could not do this with the cycle analyzer on its own, but once you save a cycle model, you can switch here to the charting button, which is a new feature which will show up, which allows you then to add this technical analysis stuff with ease. Yeah, so it's really easy to combine some basic technical analysis with overlaying different composite models. I think often this feature was requested to overlay composite cycle models from other data sets onto each other. So that's why I want to show it here. So that's second topic. I will come to your questions, by the way, at the end. We are live, so I see your questions. Please continue to bring in your questions. Third, and this is really powerful. I mean, the reason we have Cycles TV is here. I also explain once a week how you read a spectrum. Yeah, I mean, not in a theoretical way, in a real practical sense, why every week we open up a data set, we have a look at the spectrum, and I try to explain you what are the reasons to pick this cycle or that cycle out of that spectrum. Yeah, and this is a clear, quite objective rule set, which is important because you need to learn how to pick the right cycle, because detecting cycles is more or less easy. That's what the computer is doing. But the computer digital signal processing gives us a list of possible cycles. That's the basic digital signal processing algorithms. They don't show you this cycle. They present you a list of possible cycles. And in cycle analysis, and specifically in the competence of doing projections based on cycles, is the knowledge to know which cycles to pick out of that spectrum. And that's not easy in simple terms. It's not an if this then that algorithm. There's a lot of knowledge involved in which cycles to pick. For sure, watch please the weekly Cycles TV. It's free for everyone. I explain these rules again and again and again. So by just watching, you will get this knowledge. But we have applied to teach a computer, like in artificial intelligence, and it's not a simple rule set. It's a little bit dynamic rule set where you need to apply different rules to pick the right cycles. It's a ranking system then in the end, but this deep learning algorithm based on some visual rules, some technical rules, some statistical rules, some verification rules, some rules how the shape looks like in the spectrum, etc., etc. And all these combined rules then in the end will result in a ranking spectrum, which even if you don't have any idea about cycle analysis, will come up with a list of which cycle to pick and which not to pick. We are very careful with this ranking because we think you need to have the knowledge. That's always the risk if you go the AI route. At some point in time, we might all lose the knowledge. Why the hell is this ranked number one? And up to now, I think we have the knowledge. But once we start to teach a computer to do that, maybe we will lose the competence to understand why the cycle ranked. And right now, the computer will not explain to you why it picked this cycle. So therefore, even though we give you the technology, you should please follow the Cycles TV series to not underestimate the knowledge. But how does it look like? I have used this this feature for some examples here in this series anyhow. So, and you see it on the right-hand side. So it's, if you activate it via the configuration, you see it on the right-hand side. In the spectrum, you can see it by having circles, see it here, around the triangles. So we had the triangles anyhow, but the key cycles, which are now dominant, have been circles around it. So you can see it more easy in the spectrum. And they are highlighted on the right-hand side in the table with the green background here. So the highlighted line items are the dominant cycles. But not only that, they also get a ranking now. Yeah, you see here rank number 1, rank number 2. So even though we have been presented with, I don't know, over 20 possible cycles in this data set, and even now without any understanding, the artificial intelligence gives you a clear indication which cycle to pick here. So in this case, it's this peak here. I mean, I could explain it. It's the sharpest peak. It has a high standing here, but the separation to the right and to the left is high. So please follow the Cycles TV to understand why. But now the computer is able to apply all these rules. So if you want to build a composite, the most easiest way is just to pick the dominant cycles. I mean, quite obvious that you will have a high correlation in the past, but that's the most reliable path into the future. Using artificial intelligence now to pick the dominant cycles, I think a feature and technology which is not available anywhere. Yeah, so please join to deep learning and AI on cycle analysis. Yeah, fourth point, more and more storage. So you know that you can upload your individual data sets. You can build, if you not have used this so far, you can build the so-called market pulse, which gives you a quick and easy overview about the individual data sets, and you can configure this individual layout, which data sets you are interested in, which data sets you're not interested in, on your own. The basic membership is quite limited. In the Pro version, I would call it, it's more or less unlimited. It's not true, but I mean, there is a limit somewhere, but you're really able to build lots of clusters, individual indices, which will then optimize your dashboard view, where you can have a quick switch here. And also in the scanner, you know that with the quick data pickup, then from your personal watch list, it makes it quite easy then to browse through your data sets. And more storage means you can add more and more data sets to your basic configuration. So it's really, really a breeze to browse through your data sets with the cycle scanner here, as you can see here on the fly. And the Pro version has just more slots to save indices and data in. More storage, yes, for sure. Yeah, if you're a fan of the work from Hurst, for sure, you will know what an FLD is. So it's not the purpose here to explain the future line of demarcation, but it's the great tool because dynamic time cycles are here to project points in time. So cycles are used for timing purposes, not to derive price target projections. And that's where FLDs come into play. Because once we know a possible cycle from the cycle length and the timing information from the digital signal processing and the dynamic cycle analysis, if we know this information about the cycle length, we can draw FLDs on the chart, which gives us then a clue what a possible price target could be if we break across different FLD configurations, if you understand the principle. But that's really a key point, because then we can combine timing analysis with possible price targets for this timing. You need to go back to the knowledge from Hurst here, but in the end it's quite simple tool set. But you can now let me just show it to you. You can now apply. It's a simple FLD on or off, so it's off. But if you put it on, you can see here a green line which is the FLD, which is then shifted into the future, and you can assign it a length. So you need to nominate which FLD you want to have on the chart, and then based on these FLD, these turning points are important to watch. So when price breaks above or below this line, this gives you then a new price target based on the break of the FLD and the price data. That's the price projection here. You should get this knowledge from Hurst and the concept of using FLDs. But just to outline, you are able then to plot the FLDs in the cycle analyzer directly. Yes, and last but not least, I mean, for some, this might be useful if you have a configuration where you want to run it offline and you want to become independent from cloud because maybe your network performance is really poor or bad, or you're on travel or whatever. So you need the cloud connection to get some data and the licensing. So it's not 100% independent, but some cycle analysis routine run locally. So you will get some loops to the cloud and backwards out of the equation, which makes it much faster, much more reactive, and you get more and more independent, as said, if you have bad internet connections. I mean, this is a sneak preview. So if you are interested in even more, join the waitlist, register for the event. We will have a big launch event in the second half of May. And as said, these features are there yet. Yeah, you've seen them on the chart with me right now. So they will become available to you just with the launch date. Yeah, and some features are known by some pro users also, but this is the full set, which gives you quick, early idea what to expect, what not to expect. So I'm happy now to take some of your questions, or to go through the chat section. But at least for the mainstream, that's it for today. I hope you're now more interested, or at least you get an understanding what this launch will mean. In addition, if you are also using these features from my previous work, or you're aware of this previous work, this will continue. So you will continue to use it. There's no change in that, but we can all benefit from the background of the Foundation for the Study of Cycles now taking over the technology, the support, the maintenance, everything which is aware, which will free up a lot of time in continuing adding additional features. So this is not set in stone. There will come additional features, and we can concentrate really, really on more work to provide you more features than just the 6 which I've outlined here. So these 6 features will come right with the launch date. Okay, let me now have a look at your questions for today. And please continue to bring in your question. Yeah, you are looking into crypto. I'm aware of that. But as said, today I will not do a live analysis. But next week I will again look at topics. But I just want to highlight this question because you're right. As the US stock market has a very low volatility right now, so there's really no, in short-term cycles, there's no really interesting things to do. The global long-term analysis is still valid, so no change in my previous analysis. But crypto is very volatile, you're right, and this is a perfect place for cycle analysis. So if you have volatile data sets, yes, that's where cycle analysis also works and can help you. Okay. Yeah, Jerry, please help me out. So, I mean, the AI detector is not there yet anyhow. So if you're a user of the FSC, by design, it will not work. And by design, you will not see the chart feature right now. And yes, that's also valid for the Pro version. So we will improve the Pro version with the launch date. You will have some of the features maybe I explained. So if you are an existing Pro user of the Foundation, you will get more features after the launch date. So Jerry, you can just sit and wait. And then these features will just come to you. So isn't this cool? So you don't need to do anything. And for the interested users out there who are not aware of the Pro or who are not sure what the Pro is, I think this gives you a preview. So Jerry, it will come also to you. You don't need to do anything. Elliot, if you don't provide the intraday data, I do need someone who is providing these live data. Then let me connect the data stream to the analyzer. Correct? Yes, exactly. That's the basic understanding. I will give more insights on how it really works once we have launched it. But in simple terms, if you can access the data from your charting application, you can connect it from your charting application to our analyzer with, for example, like scripts in your charting application, or with an API connection to our backend. So there are different technical ways to do that. We have tested that, but that's the way to go as you explain it here, and we will give you more details on that once it is there. Attila, yes, as we have updated the user interface, some windows might not work yet on all browsers. That's correct. You are referring to the bug report function. So in general, we are aware of some windows or some pop-ups which have not been transferred at least completely into the new user interface. If you observe this kind of feature, switch to or don't use the black background or the dark version. Always use the light version or the white theme. That's at least one tip if you observe that. And second, we are aware of some bugs on the user interface which will continue to improve. And please continue to report them, even if you repeat it. We will continue to improve the user interface. You're correct, and we are aware of that one. And that's also a good point. Isn't there a bias for longer cycles instead of shorter cycles? Because basically the shorter cycles will never have higher peaks than longer cycles in your system. First, yes, in the spectrum, absolutely right. Longer cycles will, in most cases, also have higher peaks in regards to their amplitude. That's the purpose of how the spectrum works. But you can do a relative comparison between length and amplitude peak, which is what we call cycle strength score, which gives you a relation between length and amplitude, which is the high in the spectrum. And if you compare the strength between two cycles, then you get a fair comparison, because it's not about the absolute peak, higher or lower. It's about the strengths, so the amplitude change per length setting. So I don't want to go into specifics, but it's correct, and that's one rule set for the artificial intelligence, that you should not use the absolute comparison of the peak high in the spectrum. You need to set it in context, and for example, cycle strength, dividing the length by the amplitude is one relative comparison, which then gives you a better indication if the shorter or longer term cycle should be picked based on their relative strength and not the absolute amplitude. But that's one feature which the artificial intelligence is using internally to not oversimplify it, right? I see the artificial picked a low Bartle score cycle as dominant. Yes, and I mean, even if we do this manually, you need to judge different measures. There's never only one measure to pick a cycle. So for example, in that case, I don't remember it in detail, but maybe there was a low Bartels score, which means that from a statistical significance, we just have a very low score. So, but maybe from other measures, so like this, how this cycle was formed visually in the spectrum, how this cycle was separated, maybe even from higher rated Bartle score cycles, then the AI said, okay, these other parameters or features of this cycle then are more important than just the Bartle score on its own. So it's always a combination of different cycles, and that's what I said. There's no fixed algorithm with if then pick that. It's also, you need to view the spectrum, the relative cycle parameters compared to each other. There's no absolute offset in terms of when should a Bartle score be trusted. So you need to check the Bartle score of the spectrum you have analyzed. So maybe it's more important to check the Bartle's difference between each cycles instead of an absolute Bartle score. So that's what the AI is doing on the data set. So that's said, it's not just the absolute Bartle score, and it's a good example. Before we talked about the absolute high of a peak in the spectrum, which is also not the only case to pick, and also not the absolute Bartle score. So you see already the outcome of the AI. I mean, for sure, you should not, and that was my opening, you should not blindly follow what the AI shows you. And therefore, if you have the knowledge, what is the Bartle score, what is the strength and high of a cycle in the spectrum, you need this knowledge in your brain to not just trust a computer here. But at least we are on our way to improve computer to do so. Andrea, would you support monthly or quarterly payments for the Analyzer Pro? On the subscription model, I'm not the expert, so I'm more the expert on the cycle analysis. But I will bring back this question to my colleagues who are responsible for all the commercial fundamentals. So latest in the launch event, you will get more details. I'm not sure about monthly, but at least quarterly, yearly. But before I tell you something wrong, I will bring this question to my commercial colleagues. I will give you an update next week, or even maybe raise the question here down below in this video, so I can come back and put an answer at this question here. Then I remember, because I will check back the questions below this video here. Also a recommendation for all of you, please put additional questions here in the stream, and I will try to give you some answers then once I have them. Miriam, can the Pro overlay 2 individual cycle chart choices? Yes. That's the charting window which can do this. So the cycle analyzer is how you know it today, and you know that the cycle analyzer is limited to one cycle chart. But if you have saved the composite on the analyzer, you can switch to the chart window, and there you can load, it's not limited, 10 saved cycle charts and overlay them at a time. And the charting user interface allows you, from a charting perspective, overlay it in one window, apply this as like an indicator below, so you have the cycles just stacked on one screen. The possibilities are more or less endless to overlay individual charts. I mean, you need to have done them with the analyzer first, the selection of cycles, save them in the analyzer, then switch over to the charting window, and there you can load all your saved composite charts and overlay them on the asset you're analyzing. Elliot, I'm ignoring cycles with the red triangles. Cycles with the Bartle score lower than 50. I think why have they been selected by the AI? Yeah, now you are. That's what I said. The AI at least does not explain the reasoning for doing something, but I'm not sure if this was the case. If I switch back to the window, I still have it open, and we can ignore the FLD. So let me hide your question. Wait a second. No, I can't. Let me hide your question. Let's get back to the chart. Let's remove the FLD. That's not our purpose here. Let's remove that. So in that case, let's be careful here. There is no red triangle. You see and I can make it bigger here, the ones picked by the AI are the ones with the circles here in the chart. So there's one green and 2 blue ones. There's no selected cycle which has a red triangle here. Yeah, so, and you don't need to get the idea that this red is a different red than the triangles here. So the triangle coloring is the Bartle score, and there is no bad Bartle score selected. the red here as background color for this cycle here, this is just the cycle phase. Yeah? So if I activate this cycle, the red indicates here that this cycle phase it is in its downswing. Yeah, you see it here from the current position. So this cycle is in the downswing phase at the current point in time. That's the background color here. And if you hover over the cycle, you see that the color coding changes according to where you are hovering here. So you see here at this point in time, this cycle background switches to green, and here it is red. And you can do this also on a composite. So don't check. And as said, I don't think there is no red cycle picked as dominant cycle from the AI here, at least in this instance. But it's just a quick recap. For sure, it could be the case, as I outlined, there are more rules included, but I would assume that should not often be the case. So if it's just the triangle color, as you mentioned, then it's just the Bartle score. But the Bartle score is just one out of a lot of parameters which are used. Also here, I think we have the Pro already yet, and it's not planned to increase the price. This is what I can say at this point in time. So if you have already the Pro version, you will get it. You will get all these features which might not be completely there yet in the future. And as I said, we have not taught all cycles. So from now on in Cycles TV, I can also use more and more features here to show you. In specific, please add this question here down to the video so that I can also ask my commercial colleagues, Bill and Liz, maybe to add some more content here related to these questions. Yeah, don't get it wrong. Question, work the analyzer for TradingView. No, within TradingView, it does not work. But TradingView offers their charting user interface to be used by third-party applications, which we do. So the user interface, the same as TradingView is using, we have incorporated this, but it's not in TradingView. Yeah, so please don't get the message wrong. TradingView with PineScript is a separate, closed shop. I mean, you can use PineScript, but that's then TradingView, where there's right now no chance for us to bring in the cycle analysis because we cannot do this within PineScript. But as said, the same user interface to do technical analysis is now implemented in the cycle analyzer, and due to the purpose that TradingView offers these kind of features. Okay. I see a lot of questions rushing in how to pick the cycles. That said, I've seen some conflicting cycles where Bartle score at times overweights amplitude and vice versa. Which holds more weight when selecting cycles, Bartle score or amplitude? And as said, it's not an absolute answer, Bartles or amplitude. It depends, and I think there's a video where I outlined 6 rules which are important to decide a cycle to pick. And of these 6 rules, only 2 are the Bartle score and the amplitude. So therefore, there's no simple answer, and the purpose of this video just shows me that in the Cycles TV series, I often comment on Bartle score and amplitude, but there's not one simple rule set on that. Okay, yeah. Maybe that's more a roadmap topic, but Lassie, your question is right. Would it be possible in the future to walk forward analysis? Yeah, like backtesting is always requested, and we know we are working on this. However, we need to be careful how we implement backtesting, and backtesting then in combination with the walk forward analysis, stepping through the data set from the past into the future and have this walk forward analysis, how profitable cycles would have been in a certain point in historical analysis. Yes, I think it's a feature which will come, but I cannot talk about a release date on that. I know this is anyhow a requested feature a long time. We are just thinking about ways how to make it easy, not oversimplify, and you need to have the right background how to do the walk forward analysis. It's on the roadmap. That's the simple answer for today. Um, 93. I mean, we are live, Brent. Why not go back to this? So you're talking about the S&P and 93. Let me see if I can get back to this analysis. Wait a second. I will just check the... So you said the S&P, I think the daily. Yeah, I see it. You're right. Let me bring up the screen. Yeah, thanks for reminding me on that cycle. So for sure, I don't want to overlook a question here because it's a good one. So you're right. Let's have a look. Okay, I will remove your question from the screen to clear it just up. So the question is here. We have a cycle length of 93 in the analysis, which in this case has a very low Bartels score. It's correct, very, very low Bartels score. And that's the reason why it has a red triangle in the peaks. That's exactly this peak here, red triangle, bad Bartels score. However, and that's the question, why has this cycle now been selected by the artificial intelligence? As I said, I don't have all rules at hand, but I could assume. So therefore, let me try to give you an answer. What could be the reasoning? Let's get to this screen here. So if we have a look at the spectrum, just from the Bartels score, you should not pick that cycle. But I think the explanation for this cycle is the shape in the spectrum and the strength score. So first, what you can see here in the spectrum, and let me try to also highlight this here, is the separation to the left and the right. So it's a very sharp peak. So one of the rules is how sharp the peak is. So it has been confirmed. It is a very sharp peak. That's number one. Second, it goes down quite down to zero here in the spectrum. So if it goes down to this level before it goes up. So also how sharp the fall to the left and to the right is very high. So it goes close to zero. Often you see then at this point here, the next peak shows up. So this is the second reasoning why we not only have a sharp peak, the separation to the left and to the right is also very high. Let's clean up the, wait a second. Let's clean up the screen here. I need to learn to better handle that. So, and there are some additional reasonings also in here. Next, you see the size of the triangle here is quite large, at least compared to this size here and to this size here, and even this green size here. So this size is very small. This size is much more larger. And that's a good explanation for the amplitude peak here. So even though the amplitude here is higher, so the height of this cycle is much higher than that one, if you have the relative comparison to this cycle length here, the strength is even higher from this peak compared to that peak. So you see that the cycle strength is not the highest, but even higher from that peak here. So it's the third reason you could use it. And maybe the last one is if you have the absolute amplitude value, you see it's still in the top. So you have a lot of cycles here in this lower configuration. And then just in this upper range, you just have these 4 or 5 cycles which are outstanding from the absolute high. So just by this quick look here at these cycles, and for sure, this is just a very, very short explanation. There are lots of reasons which would make this cycle valid for projection. Brent, and I think this would be my explanation to your question here, why the cycle was. So there are good reasons. There are good reasons to pick. But you should understand the Bartle score is low. So from an historical statistical point of view, using the past data, it's not reliable. But we have other measures which would make the cycle interesting. If you have this understanding and knowledge, this cycle, the 93-day cycle here, could become a new cycle which becomes more and more dominant in this data set, because in the past, from a statistical perspective, it's not significant, Bartle score. But as other measures now give us an indication this cycle is, from the strength and separation, important, often that's the case when this cycle becomes more and more important in the future in this data set. And that will change and impact then the Bartle score in a positive way. So it's an early indication that a new cycle might be on the horizon, which right now with historical data you cannot confirm statistically, but other measures would show this. Watch out, new kid on the block, new cycle, and that's the reason the AI picked this cycle, to watch it, to keep it in mind. So that's just the explanation on this question, and I think that's good. Exactly. Thanks for the reference. And I would recommend this to always put this in your list to watch, and maybe watch it twice, 3 times. These rules are important. And these rules are also brought into the artificial intelligence learning algorithm, how to select. Okay, again, I spent a lot of time to even dig into your questions. So hopefully you get a better understanding now on what to expect. This is a special episode today, but I think it should give you some more background information. Also to see that we are heavily investing in even bringing more and more cycle analysis features, which are, I think, quite unique for the foundation and all its members to you, and make it easy to use. Register to the launch event. Please watch me next week, Monday, live. I will be live next Monday, where we put another data set on the screen. I think crypto might be interesting, as said that the global stock markets are so boring, but cycles are still there. Thanks for watching me today. Leave your questions so we can see what you are interested in the upcoming launch party. We can prepare for your questions. Like, subscribe, invite your friends. Let's spread the word on cycle analysis. Thanks for staying with me. See